think the development of full artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
With a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. They were too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1 0 1 1 1 0 1 1 6 3 2 9 7.
Media doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to Troubled Minds Radio. I am your host, Michael Strange. I am here with your co-host, Frank Pierce. And we would like to say hello to all of you who might also have troubled minds. You guys know the drill. We're recording this one live, so if you want to be part of the show, the number to call is 702-957-1037, or you could click the Discord link, hop on. We'll talk about things. We'll talk about all kinds of interesting things. We've got Exopolitics on deck tonight. If you don't know what that is, perfect. We're going to go into it, and we're going to talk about it. It's one of those things that kind of gets glossed over in the alien field of things, in the alien genre, in the alien community. You don't get a lot of attention, but I think it's one of those things that we need to talk about, because if it's real, it's possibly terrifying. If it's not, it's possibly laughable. So it's where we walk. That's our domain. That's what we do. We kind of walk that line of terrifying and laughable. So here we are. So if you're new, what we're going to do is we'll go through some news, and we'll talk about exopolitics a little bit later on. And that's how we roll. So we are live. So if you want to be part of the show, we'll be reading chat as we have time. And yeah, and then we'll do what we do. So you know what to do. If you guys want to be part of the show, you know what to do. You know what to do. We've covered that. I've just covered it 5 times in 30 seconds. So here we go. But before we do that, always a very important part of the show. Oh, yes. What is this? There we go. Yeah. All right. Turn that up. Ladies and gentlemen, your co-host, Frank Pierce.
Hello, I'm Frank Pierce, and I demand my introduction music to be perfect every time. Without that, I would leave the show, so I'm glad you got it on deck. Now, we're back again. Some good stories, good news stories to look at today. A lot of misinformation, a lot of lies, a lot of conclusions we can draw from these mundane stories that suggest terrifying things or maybe I'm just devolving into paranoia. You tell me. As well as my co-host said, exopolitics, which is quite a fascinating topic. I was really enjoying doing the research into that, so we'll get into that a little bit later. And as always, if anyone out there listening has topics or suggestions for ideas, put them in the chat, call in, join the Discord. We'll talk about them together. And that's our show. We like to look into all these things, look into all these diverse areas, ghosts, aliens, spacecraft, space travel science, and look into all sorts of different information as well. Look into history, look into religion, look into cutting-edge scientific material, and try to integrate all of these different things together and make sense of this confusing world we live in. Let's get into it. What do you say?
Let's do it. Got some shout-outs. We got Tim and Michelle. They get the first. They were neck and neck in the chat here. What's up, guys? Kimberly, hello. What's happening? Thanks for showing up. David gives us a wave right back at you. And then Kimberly says, my mind is troubled, yet fine. I think that's probably like a T-shirt or a tagline for the show, because my mind is also troubled, but try and convince me that it's not fine. I'm telling you. Tip-top shape, this mind of mine. My
mind may be troubled, but it's definitely not fine, so I don't know.
Okay, so you can speak for yourself, but I'll agree. you might need some help, Frank. Okay, so we have this new thing on Facebook. I don't know if you guys can see it, or let me know, get some feedback here if you would be so kind. There's a poll. There's like an interactive stream thing. So we put up a question. Do you believe that we have a secret pact with aliens? So let's throw that up as the poll question. If you guys can see it or interact with it, let me know, and then we'll check it as we go. But I thought it was kind of cool that they added that. Maybe it's been there and I didn't notice it because I'm a knucklehead. It's possible, but it's in action now. So what we'll do is we'll put some polls in if you guys find them interesting, and we can add them as we go. So if we have a question that we're kind of talking about and really not sure and want to get some input, we could put up a poll in real time and get some answers from you guys. So yeah. So anyway, a couple more comments here. Christopher, what's up? Thanks for showing up, buddy. And then Kimberly says yes. You see the poll, I hope. Is that what that means? Oh, no. Wait. Do I have to publish the poll? Uh-oh. Do you guys see the poll? Okay, anyway. It says publish now. I'm going to publish now. All right, here we go. There it is. Okay. All right. So, oh, I see. It puts it up on the stream, on the actual results. Okay, cool. So we have 0. So okay. So the poll here is the active poll is: do you believe that we have a secret pact with aliens? And the answers that I put up, because I thought it was funny. Frank thought it was a little less funny, but he said the first answer is no way, you're stupid, Frank, and the other one is yes way, you're not stupid, Frank. So there we go. Okay, and then Kimberly says there's a contract, I believe. Don't see a poll yet. Okay, look in the stream there. It should be okay. So let us know if it pops up. It should be fine. Oh, there we go. We got 100%. Yes way. You're not stupid, Frank. Because Dave voted. All right, so we're good. Okay, sweet. So the poll's working. So one more time, the question of the night: do you believe that we have a secret pact with aliens? Does a yes or no? No way or yes way? And Frank is not stupid either way. So okay, so let's do some news. Thanks for the votes. Thanks for the Kimberly voted. Thanks for the votes. And here we go. Let's do some news. You want to start this one out, Frank, or should I?
Yeah, let me start it out. Let's do a fun story. Let's get the energy levels up here. So it's October. It's the time of ghosts and goblins and spooky things. That Ouija board story we covered last episode still terrifies me to see what can happen with that thing. All the horrible things that come out of it. But let's start out with this story here. Louisiana man claims ghost planted meth at his home. Falsely reports stabbing, says the sheriff. So pull that up. Let's see here. So a Louisiana man who claimed that a ghost planted drugs on him after he was hit in the head with an axe, despite having no visible wounds, is under arrest. So this guy, he's in his house. He's fighting with ghosts. They're attacking him with axes. And then they plant meth in his house, these ghosts. And the sheriffs come by and they don't see anything. What do you think? Looks good?
Looks good. Looks good to me. Book it, man. Did we call the Ghostbusters on this one, or did they defer to some lesser organization?
I don't know. But you think about this. So obviously, it's a joke story, and that's your first impression: is this is a joke story? Clearly, this guy's out of his mind. He's going crazy. He's on drugs of some sort, and he's just making stuff up. And if you read the tone of this article and how serious they take it, you would also think the same thing. You'd think, oh, this guy's crazy, he's making stuff up. But you have to wonder, is there any real evidence here? Could this have actually happened, right? It's so easy, I think, nowadays to look at these types of stories and say, no, this is completely crazy. This is just a methed out man, losing his mind. And you read the news, and that just backs up your claim. It verifies what you think already. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think we take things seriously enough. I don't think we look into them deeply enough. And yes, it could be exhausting to do that for everything, but maybe there was a ghost in his house. How do we know? How do we know that for a fact? We don't. And these assumptions that we make, I think we need to challenge them. We need to look into them a little bit more deeply. And that's what this show's about. So what do you think about that?
I think you're right. The thing that I absolutely do know is this gentleman has fantastic hair. Maybe we should do a poll on that. Maybe not. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, like without seeing evidence, I think that's the thing. I think what you're getting at here is that the media tends to kind of stoke the fire with, things that are obviously unbelievable, with obviously unbelievable headlines to, further their narrative. I think with this particular story, like, who knows, what's the evidence? Just because the guy is talking about meth doesn't necessarily 100% make him completely untrustworthy, right? But it is a funny story, framing it in that sense. But then you have, who knows? Like, did he have like all the dishes just float up off his table, or something like that, of his dining room table? If there's like actual evidence going on here, then that's a different story entirely. So, who knows? But
that's the point, though, right? The journalists here who wrote this story didn't look for any evidence. They didn't call this guy. They didn't interview him. It doesn't even look like they interviewed the sheriff here. They just kind of reported on the police report, right? So they read a report and reported on the report. But they didn't add anything new to the equation. They didn't do any additional work. So it's almost as if this story is just nothing. There's nothing new. So why did they write it in the first place? And that's, I think, what journalism is coming to is, why are you even writing this story if you're not willing to do the least amount of work to back up any of the claims?
Yeah,
I don't know. I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I did see one of those TED Talks. I don't know if you've seen those things. They some of them are pretty good, and some of them drive me insane. But I saw one where they were talking about, I think it was an ex-Facebook executive, or maybe current Facebook executive, and she was talking about how we are creating a dystopia just for ad clicks. And I think this is a prime example of that. Like the things that we tell each other, the things that the media tells us, and that kind of perpetrate themselves through society, or that's probably not the word, but they kind of spread without any kind of anything other than a headline and a photograph. Like, I'm not going to scroll down. I'm not going to read this article whatsoever, and we're going to pretend like we're just knuckleheads and we just read the headline, and we don't do any extra research. But you see what we're looking at here. We see the picture of this guy. I made fun of his hair, right? I bit right into their hook here, hook, line, and sinker, and we're just reading the headline. So obviously this guy's nuts. He's a meth head, and there's no way he could have ever had any kind of contact with a ghost, right? I mean, this is what we're cruising here. Michelle says, I don't see the poll. Let me know if you see the poll. The poll is up there. We're getting votes. We have, so currently there's 83% say, yes way, you're not stupid, Frank. Yes, I love it.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, right? It's like overwhelming majority here. Yeah, let me know, because the poll is showing up for people, so, yeah, okay. I don't know if you're on a phone or a computer, or I have no idea. And I don't know how to get a hold of Facebook, so if anybody knows how to find the poll, please help in the chat there. Okay, and then Kimberly says, I believe drugs could be planted. Yeah, right? I mean, if you can knock a candelabra off the hearth, then you can maybe, plant some meth. I guess it's possible. Tim says, glad you guys are back. Hey, thanks, glad to be back. All right, so okay, so it's this is a funny story. This is a goofy story, but I think it's just like Frank said, it's more important to ask yourself why this story goes up. It's that month. It's October. It's kind of getting back into ghost stories, that type of thing. So it's it's going to be top of the mind for the next 30 days or so. But and then we get into Christmas and then the Yuletide carols and whatnot. But
then Santa will be coming down the chimney planting meth in this guy's house.
Right,
hitting him on the head with an axe.
Exactly. That would be amazing. So yeah, okay. So we're going to move on from this story. But what do you guys think? Is this like a what you would call just goofy clickbait, or is this part of a deeper, more insidious psychological operation by the media? Are they trying to make us dumb? Trying to try to make fun of these things, more of the conspiracy theory bit, where if you believe anything off the beaten path, then you're the problem. Is that what's happening here, or is it just the goofy dystopia for generating clicks? I don't know. It's a good question. Okay, but all right, so we're gonna move on. We're gonna go to the next one. What do you got here? Should we do some space stuff, or what do you got? How are we gonna do this, Frank?
Yeah, let's get back into this space. Let's pull up this article here. Study says Martian moons likely blown off of the planet's surface. Okay, this is interesting. This is incredibly interesting because of what they don't mention here. So let's get into this. Anyway, so Mars has a bunch of moons. I think it has 3 or 4. I may be incorrect about that. But this article says, until now, the most common theory was that Deimos and Phobos were once asteroids captured into the orbit of Mars by its gravitational field. And that's usually how we think of moons forming, is we have all this rock and rubble in space. These asteroids and rock collect in orbit because of the gravitational pull of the planet, and it kind of coalesces into these moons. But here they're saying something that, if you think about it, is quite terrifying, is that an asteroid hit the planet so hard that it chunked off enough rock and threw it all the way from the surface of the planet into orbit. And that's how these moons formed. It wasn't random stuff from space. It was a violent, chaotic asteroid strike that actually blew part of the planet off and formed these moons. Now, so interesting in a basic science perspective, sure. But think about what that means. We're so worried about Russian hacking. We're so worried nowadays about climate change. And we're so worried about all these things that don't really matter, quite frankly. When out there in the deep, darkest space, you have things floating around that have enough power to blast off a chunk of the planet and form moons out of it. Think about that. The only thing I think we should be worried about as a species that would end us, that would stop human existence entirely, is something like this, is an asteroid strike hitting the planet and blasting off enough rock to form a moon. Now, think about that, really, think about that. That is probably the only thing that will ever cause true human extinction, is a strike, an asteroid strike like this. And none of this, of course, is mentioned in the article. They don't talk about that whatsoever. But that's the only real thing that will ever cause the end of humanity, is something like that, an asteroid strike. And what are we doing about it? Nothing.
Space Force, man.
Right?
We're doing the Space Force.
Space Force, sure, but we're not doing anything. What do you think about this?
Yeah, okay, so we do have, a scanning, what is this called? I can look it up real quick, but there is an apparatus that's functioning to find these things, to keep them, at least give us a heads up if something's about to hit us. But it's obviously nowhere near close enough to where it needs to be. I think that's the problem, or one of the problems anyway. And Case in point, I keep going back to that Oumuamua. Remember that from October? It kind of flew in weird orbit. We missed it till it was really, really, really close, and then it flew by us and then turned around and reversed and flew away. It was like snap your fingers, here and gone. And if it was actually on a collision course with us, with the Earth, with whoever, wherever, we were screwed. We were literally screwed. There was no time. There was no time to do anything about it. You see how fast NASA runs things and how fast they actually get their shiz together. It just does not happen. Interesting that if something like this does actually threaten the Earth, like who's going to save us? Like what actual possibility of being saved is there, and then who would be the guy to do it? There's an obvious answer.
Yeah, what was that great NASA movie with what was that movie with Bruce Willis?
Armageddon.
Remember the asteroid movie?
Yeah.
That is never going to happen. That is a myth. No. That's fiction. They're never sending an oil rig team up there to mine an asteroid and then blast it out of the way.
Right.
They can't do anything. If they see one of these things, which oftentimes, as you mentioned, they don't. But if they see one early enough, what are they going to do? They're not going to do anything. We're just going to die. And it's unfortunate. And that's, again, why we like to cover these topics and look into these things, is because we think anyway, and we don't know about you, but this is probably the most important thing, is getting up into space and
yeah, for continuing the human race, for sure. If we stay here, it's inevitable. Even if it's not an asteroid strike, we've got other possibilities like the super volcano that I always talk about in Yellowstone. So, it's just a matter of time, and it could be soon. It could be, thousands or even millions of years away at this point. But it's going to happen. It's happened before. It'll happen again. So Michelle says yes. I think that means that you see the poll now. You see the poll. Cool, fantastic. We got some votes, so that's going well so far. Kimberly says, wouldn't there already have been an asteroid strike by now, though? If this is possible, it's already 2018. The thing is, though, I think about that, Kimberly, is that there has been, like, we've got you have to go back 60 million years for the Chicxulub impact. The dinosaurs, all that stuff. So it has happened on like an actual extinction level scale. But the thing is, we've had lots of small close calls, right? So you can go back to Tunguska in like 1906, I believe it is, where they scorched like miles and miles of Russia. And it's still, you can still see the damage today. So if that was actually over some kind of say New York, or not something that was out in the middle of a frozen forest, that's a lot of people dead, And then when we're talking about impacts of those sizes, it doesn't have to be that much bigger for the damage to be ridiculously bigger. So I think and there was one in Russia. Did you see this one, Frank? It was maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago, where it actually blew out windows and lit up the sky. It wasn't so big, but it did happen. Like, they are happening. It's just a matter of how big and if we see them or not or whatever. Tim says, "Hey, I'll just tune it in. What's up? What's up?" Kelly says, "Good evening. What's up, Kelly? Thanks for showing up." Yeah. So, what do you think, Frank? Is it did you hear about that one? Are you there?
Yeah, I think there was a video for that one, wasn't there, where it came down. I believe it was in the afternoon. Yeah, windows blown out, lots of damage caused. But you're rolling the dice every time with that, right? You roll the dice to see if it happens, and then you roll the dice to see how big it is. And eventually you're going to roll those two snake eyes, and boom, the world's gone entirely. So this is something I think we have to get on top of. And there's not enough awareness out there, really. Like, everyone knows what climate change is. Not everyone knows that this kind of stuff happens all the time.
Right, and it does. It does. We could probably do a whole show on just the massive impacts that have happened that were close calls. There's been quite a few. So there you go. Okay, so all right, so let's not get blown up by asteroids. But yeah, the Armageddon, Bruce Willis, it's not happening. But if there was something like, let's say you could get into space and like maybe hit it with like something and knock it off course, I think that's a possibility if you have enough time. But NASA takes 20 years to even get into the think tank to develop anything, and spending billions of dollars. So they would never be the ones. Never. It would be Elon Musk, or it would be Bezos with what's his project called there? The
Blue Origin.
Blue Origin, yeah. So it would be something like that. So yeah, I mean, I think it's important. It's definitely one of those things where the longer we go, it's we're just kind of asking for it if we don't do something about it. So yeah, here we go. Let's not get blown up by asteroids. Okay, so here we go. Let's jump to this one. Did you see this one, Frank? It's World Space Week. Oh
Okay,
boy.
what does that mean?
Yeah, exactly. There's always in the modern age we have a day for everything and a week for everything. So it's according to space.com here. It's here, let's put it up on the screen. It's World Space Week 2018. Thousands of events will celebrate international cosmic feats. So, going down the list here, there's this year marks the 19th annual World Space Week, which honors two seminal events in space exploration: the launching of the first satellite, Sputnik 1, on October 4th, 1957, and the signing of the Outer Space Treaty on October 10th, 1967, which forms the basis for international space law. Now, that's an interesting point. And we talked about that last week a little bit, huh? The international treaty there.
How they're trying to scam us out of our God-given right to get up there and get out there. Again, I think that we won't go into that rant again, but yeah, okay. Keep going with the story because that's going to derail it entirely.
Okay. Did I just trigger you, Frank? Perfect.
Yes, you did.
Perfect. Okay, so here we go. A little bit more for this. World Space Week was declared by the United Nations General Assembly in 1999. So that would be right before the Y2K bug, which destroyed the Earth, as we're all aware. Dennis Stone, World Space Week Association president, said in a statement, "Since then, it has grown to be the largest space celebration on Earth." All right, there we go. Now we have an official largest space celebration on Earth. Obviously I pulled this up because I thought it was a little bit. Help me with a word here. I did laugh, but what's a good word? And we need a poll for the word that describes this article. Okay. Anyway, you guys can make up your own word what this article is all about. But it is World Space Week, so. If you haven't walked outside and looked up at the sky, I encourage it because, space is out there. It's looking down at us and it's not going anywhere. Okay, so in other news, also on space.com, let's hop to the asteroid Ryugu. So as we've been watching this one, it's been I think about 2 weeks now, maybe 10 days, somewhere in that range, where the Japanese have actually landed two little hopping rovers on an asteroid, the asteroid that they call Ryugu, and sent back some pretty good photographs. Did you see any of that stuff, Frank, on the photographs of that?
Yeah, they're amazing. And again, we talked about this earlier, but the transparency that the Japanese agency offers in terms of their connectivity to these rovers and what's happening with them, and all the data they're getting is amazing. So I only wish more people could be like this. But yeah, the photos are beautiful to look at, and I encourage you to go look at them sometime. Yeah,
they definitely did some pretty good stuff here. So these things were hopping, so they made hopping rovers because right here it says that wheels are useless on an extremely low gravity body such as Ryugu. So a driving robot would float off the surface as soon as the tires started turning. So, of course, they made little hopping robots. And the bad news is, so the good news is we got some really sweet pictures, and it's cool to see some of this stuff. The bad news is that for all the hundreds of millions that they spent for this project, we only got a 17-hour active hopping rover here. So. The little rover, the first one they sent, I know they sent two. I don't see an update on the second one here, but according to this, the one of the ones they sent has now ceased operation. So it was equipped with just a pretty short battery life and no solar panels, which doesn't make sense to me. Does that make sense to you, Frank? It's a little bit goofy, I think.
Yeah, it says they are had tiny solar panels on it actually, but I think it couldn't support the battery or some such thing. Like when it was in the asteroid, it wasn't capable of getting access to light to recharge them. I'm not sure. I think it was just like a one and done type thing. Prove you can do it, get some data, and then that's it.
Yeah. Well, so the good news is we did get some photographs and some video beamed back, but the bad news is this thing is done. 17 hours later, this little thing has ceased operation, and it's gonna die a lonely life on the asteroid Ryugu. So, yeah. So if you guys are just joining us, we've got a poll going on. Do you believe we have a secret pact with aliens? So, so far so good. We got a lot of participation here. So we're going to get into that shortly, and Exopolitics and Dr. Michael Sala. But we're going over the news right now. So got a couple more articles, and then we're going to jump into that. But take the poll, or if you want to be part of the show, call in 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link in the Facebook stream, or just leave a comment, and we'll read the comments on air here. So, all right. What else we got?
Now, something interesting just on this article, and thinking about the rover on Mars. So Curiosity rover isn't powered by solar panels, it's powered by some nuclear device, right? It generates heat, which generates electricity. And I wonder, it's almost sad that they can't develop a sustainable rover, put it on an asteroid, and, this is where AI would be great, some kind of intelligence, but get this thing powered for life, essentially, keep it on the asteroid, and then keep beaming back data forever. Or even more than that, heat up some of the rock on the asteroid and start shooting it out to the side. Change the trajectory of this thing, not very quickly, not in our lifetimes, but change the trajectory of this asteroid such that 100 years from now, maybe we can access it much easier. Does that make sense? So a nuclear-powered fuel cell will last nearly forever, and I don't know why they went with the non-rechargeable lithium-ion battery. It's an interesting choice. We could have gone with an Curiosity-style nuclear battery of some type.
Yeah, and a 17-hour lifespan. Okay, so there we go. There's R.I.P. Mascot is the name of the article here. Okay, here's another one that I thought was fantastic. Reported by the New York Times, but a lot of other people have picked this up and reported
fake news.
it. I'm sorry?
I said fake news.
Oh, fake news. Okay, I wasn't going to go there, but all right. We'll add that to the poll. Is New York Times fake news? Okay, so a goblin world that points toward hidden planet 9 in the solar system. So they found this tiny planet. It's a little bitty guy, right? Did you guys hear about this one? Now this is pretty amazing for a couple reasons. So this thing is very small. They say it's smaller than Pluto. But what makes it so special is it has a very long elliptical orbit. So here we go. Here's a photograph in the article here of the goblin. So you see the very long orbit that is obviously like way huge compared to like the solar system and the Kuiper Belt. Like this little goblin planet goes way out there and comes way back. So it kind of perked up the idea that an orbit like this is possible for, say, something like Planet X, Nibiru. Oh yeah, it's kind of bringing that up. They're talking about this because it's if this is possible for this type of thing, then of course it's possible for a larger planet that we've got some data about. We talked about Zacharias Sitchin. We talked about the Anunnaki and Planet X, Nibiru. Well, this makes it all the more likely because now there's a planet that's actually doing exactly that. It only comes around every. I didn't catch the duration here. It's currently 7.4 billion miles from the sun, or about 2.5 times further away than Pluto. But that is near to the closest it ever gets to the sun. So that's what is that? A 40,000-year orbit. Now I don't remember what the Planet X orbit was, but 40,000 years is quite a chunk there. But yeah, what do you think there, Frank? Pretty cool. I thought that was a pretty neat article.
Well, the failing New York Times still put in a quote at the end. Still, the existence of Planet Nine remains unproven. So there you go.
Well, of course.
Yeah, pretty cool, definitely. Interesting. Again, a big problem too, if you think about it, is that this thing has been there for quite some time, flying around forever, essentially, in terms of our reckoning, and we didn't discover it. We didn't know about it until just now. That's it's problematic, right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Again, I'm using all the wrong words today. Interesting too that we talked about earlier in a previous show. We talked about some of the ways life can develop on these exoplanets through gravitational heat generation inside these things. So, you know, you think about this thing and you think about Pluto, for example. We know Pluto is so far away, so we assume that any planet that far away must be entirely ice, just a frozen body circling the sun. That's not necessarily true. These things could be generating heat from inside them due to frictional forces. So, you know, I don't want to speculate. I don't want to sensationalize, rather, but there could be life on this thing of some kind. There could be life anywhere. And I think we're just discovering this now and discovering these planets and exoplanets that can generate heat from within them naturally due to gravitational forces. We could have life everywhere throughout the solar system and not even realize it.
And so the what would that be, the Goldilocks theory of having to be in the exact perfect spot in your sun's orbit there is out the window. Yeah, I mean, who knew? Who knew? Kelly says, thank you. I was looking for that. He says Planet X has a rotation of 3,600 years. That's per Sumerian text. So, okay, so 3,600 doesn't seem to be that ridiculous now that we have one that's, what'd I say? What was this? A 40,000 year orbit. Yeah, yeah. So that's a very long orbit. So there you go. So now it kind of, I think I saw a study. I didn't pull it up, but it was a, you know, now scientists think probably within a 90% aisle-ish thing that they believe there's a Planet X. So I'll dig that one up for next time. But I think finding this little world out there, way out there, kind of perked their interest a little bit. And we did talk previously about the gravity signature that they've detected, about something they don't know about. That's a very large planet that's out there somewhere. So yeah, it seems to be lining up to maybe it's a real thing here. Maybe it's an actual, you know, real thing. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. Thank you for that, Kelly. Kelly says Valiant Thor is from Venus. Yeah. I don't think we're gonna get to Valiant Thor tonight, but yeah, he's another alien that works for the government, according to several sources. I think he was in the Phil Schneider story as well. Okay, so one more, and then we'll get into exopolitics and Dr. Michael Sella. So this is reported by The Guardian, and Frank pulled this one up, and I think it's pretty cool. What is behind the decline in UFO sightings? Well, what was cool about this one there, Frank?
Yeah, so I think we've actually covered this before, and this was more a case study for everyone out there in how fake news propagates itself. So this started to be... Okay, let me back up a bit. Basically, the National UFO Reporting Center has documented that there's a steep decline in worldwide sightings of UFOs. So this decline started around 2014, and it's just been drastically going down. So throughout the 50s, you know, there was hardly any sightings, and then from the 50s until the 90s, it just exponentially increased, and now it's back on the decline. It's decreasing. So that was the claim. Anyway, we did look at the story before, but I've seen this story since then, like probably 5-6 times. The idea here is that all this decline data is based off of the National UFO Reporting Center. So they are getting less reports, and as such, people are assuming that the worldwide incidence of UFO sightings are decreasing. That's the central crux of the story. But this is shoddy reporting. This is fake news, because traffic to this National UFO Reporting Center exactly mirrors, so website traffic to this place and reports to this place exactly mirror this decrease in reporting. Because nowadays you don't report UFOs to this reporting center. You go on YouTube and you post a video of it, or you go on Facebook and you post a picture, you know, Instagram too, why not? But that's how reporting is done nowadays. It's not through these National UFO Reporting Center type agencies. And so journalists have taken this decline in reporting, and now they've just started churning this story out, that there's less UFOs in the skies, there's less of them, no one's seeing them anymore, they don't exist, that type of thing. But in reality, there's a very simple explanation. People don't use these services anymore. And so we covered this before, but basically the idea here is that this is how the news works, is people report on reports on reports. And no one along the way, in all those steps where this information propagates from one news site to the other, but they don't bother to look into it. They don't bother to do the research and actually think with their brains about why this may be happening. So, I don't know. What do you think about that? This is just fake news. This is an example of fake news.
Kinda, yeah. So I just pulled one off of our minds.com, where all the news goes. And we had this one last time for the last show, but I don't think we talked about it. And the headline here is, where have all the UFOs gone? And the answer is, blame the movies. The movies. Oh my goodness. Linking it for Frank. Okay, so, I mean, so there's obviously a decline in UFO sightings and reports, okay? Not necessarily sightings, but they'll say sightings. They mean reports to these two things. But, you know, and then we go to blame the movies. Like, okay, anyway, I'm done with this. You guys get the point.
Let me read out a quick quote here from the article. Possible answers as to why sightings are decreased are varied. A key factor, however, may be that people simply don't care anymore. So there you go. So they're collating sightings with reports, but it's not true. It's just that they're getting less reports to this UFO reporting center. Anyway, I'm done with this too, but this is what they're doing to us. They're just churning out these articles, and they don't have any good information in them, and I think they're dumbing us down on purpose and trying to push a narrative. Anyway, yeah, we'll be done with this now.
More the same.
Just keep an eye out for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, psychological operation type stuff. Okay, so Jonathan, what's up? He says Wormwood. I'm not sure what that means. That's a show? I think that's a show? I don't know. And then also says nothing good is coming. Don't regret anything tonight. Is that Nostradamus? I'm not sure which quatrain that's from. If you want to give us a call, talk to us, let us know what's up. 702-957-1037. We'd like to expound on that if possible. So nothing good is coming. Don't regret anything tonight.
What's that liquor that has wormwood in it? Absinthe, the Green Fairy. Maybe our listener there is drinking some absinthe, seeing some strange things.
Maybe. Let us know, Jonathan. You know what to do. Hop on Discord or give us a call. You can tell us what you're talking about. I think I want to say Wormwood's a show. I don't apparently, unfortunately, I don't watch too much TV. So it sounds like it's a show to me. I don't know. Anyway, give us a call or there we go. Cole says, good evening, ladies and gents. Hey, what's up, Cole? And then he says, wormwood is mentioned in the Bible. A star, I believe. Well, thank you. There we go. Johnny on the spot. I did not know that. So good stuff. Wormwood, is that okay? We're waiting for more. We'll read more of that. So if you guys want to expound, we'll talk about that. But here we go. We're gonna jump into exopolitics. So if you guys have ever heard of this or not, it's basically I'll let Frank take this over. He said he wanted to start this. Let's start exopolitics, Frank.
Yeah, so this centers around one person in particular, is Michael Salla, Dr. Michael Salla. And so I guess how this all started is that, we've got Corey Goode claiming there's a secret space program flying around in these giant ships around the sun. We've got the Marine on Mars, Randy Kramer, fighting all sorts of different aliens on Mars. We've got Phil Schneider underground pulling out his sidearm, gunning down reptilians left and right. And we have all these claims and all these stories and all these whistleblowers. And this guy has come along and started to craft a narrative out of it, started to look at all these stories and come up with something, come up with a reason, come up with an explanation for how they all fit together. So I think and how they impact the political process on Earth. So even going back to this supposed meeting in Florida in the 50s with Eisenhower, where he met with reptilians and greys, and also met with the good type aliens, the the tall whites, for example. So how all these aliens, how all these sightings, how all these secret programs impact the political process on Earth and how nations get together. So who is this Michael Salla and what credentials does he have? Let's play the background Salla clip taken from an interview with him.
Yes, I was actually teaching international politics at American University in Washington, D.C. And in 2001, I'd been there for 5 years as a full-time assistant professor. And what I encountered at that time was this video by Dr. Stephen Greer with 20 witnesses who had experience concerning classified programs, UFOs, extraterrestrial life, and I immediately recognized that this was something very important, and I began to research it, and the more I researched it, the more I found that it was very real and this was happening, and it was something that I believe revolutionized our understanding of international politics. But unfortunately my university wasn't as interested in this new field as I was, and so eventually we had to part way in 2004. Actually, they couldn't accept the research that I was doing and that I wanted to move forward within the university system, but they blocked me from doing that.
Okay, I've got some more on Michael Salla if I can interject here. So this is right off his website. It's exopolitics.org, and it says Dr. Michael Salla has held academic appointments in the School of International Service, American University, Washington, D.C. from 96 to 2001, and the Department of Political Science, Australian National University, Canberra, Australia, 94 to 96. He taught as an adjunct faculty member at George Washington University. So he's got a bunch of credentials here. And he says specifically on his website that he looked into this, just like you heard in the clip, and he was told, quote, from his, after writing an article outlining my research findings, the need for exopolitics, implications of conspiracy theories of policymakers and global peace. That was the name of the article. I was told that my exopolitics research had, quote, no place either within the Center for Global Peace or at American University. So, you know, it's the standard stuff that we talk about. This guy got kicked out, basically, right? I mean, he said, hey, you know, he went off the beaten path, went off the government-funded narrative, and boom, you're fired, right? Is that what happened?
Yeah, essentially. And so this guy does have a doctorate in government affairs, right? So he is qualified to teach politics and this type of thing. And yeah, he started thinking about the implications, either the theoretical implications of aliens interfering in government affairs and how that impacts the political situation. So it's a good topic, honestly it is even if it's just a theory about aliens being out there and interacting with us, even if it's just a hypothetical, this is a good, I think, discussion topic, because let's say one day, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not even 100 years from now, aliens come here. How are we going to deal with it? So there was a news story circulating, I think a couple of weeks ago, we didn't cover it, but that Germany, the government of Germany, had no plan for alien contact. They had no secret plan to deal with aliens should they appear. And kind of what that implied to me is that other governments around the world did have a plan. They were prepared. They had contingencies in place to deal with alien contact of some kind. And so this is a serious topic, I think, is even if it's just a hypothetical, if aliens come to Earth and they deal and they interact with the government, how would that impact our citizenship? How would we deal with that? So let's play this What is Exopolitics clip, again from an interview with this Dr. Michael Salla, and he explains this whole theory.
Okay, what is exopolitics? Play that one sec. Got a couple of comments here real quick, and then we'll play that clip. Cole says the Nordics. Yeah, so that was the term we were looking for when Frank was talking about the aliens there. Adam's got a hilarious question. Does this show get any money from the NASA budget? You want to take that one, Frank? Oh, jeez. That's a good one, man. That's a good one. That's a good one, Adam. You're the best. Tell you what, if you know anybody that can get us hooked up to part of the NASA budget, I promise you we'll be more productive than NASA. So get us hooked up. Cole gives the LOL. And also says no. And then Adam says aliens are fake. Awesome. Awesome. Okay, here we go. We're going to play this clip. This was, which one was this?
What is exopolitics?
You got it. Action.
Well, exopolitics, the simplest way of understanding it is that it concerns the political implications of extraterrestrial life.
Okay.
It's like extraterrestrials, whether you accept that they're real or whether you accept the possibility, regardless, there are political implications. You know, that even now, people like Professor Stephen Hawking talk about the possibility of extraterrestrial life, and that they invade us because they're more technologically advanced. Well, this is exopolitics.
Yeah, totally.
So whenever you begin to talk about the political implications of extraterrestrial life, whether real or whether possibility, you're discussing exopolitics. So this is a field that I've helped pioneer.
So it's everything around extraterrestrial life and civilization in our galaxy, right?
Exactly. Anything that has an impact on us politically. Okay. Because there are many different aspects to extraterrestrial life. Totally. Some are like biological.
Totally.
Like, that maybe they have a different kind of physiological system to us, breathe methane rather than oxygen. Others might be kind of more philosophical or theological, that maybe they have an understanding of higher consciousness than we do. But many other aspects are political, that they have advanced technologies, and that because of this they have a political impact on the national security of different nation states, especially the United States where I live. It's very important.
It's very important.
Yeah. So you see, right? So it's whether it's real or not. Even if there's no, let's say that there's no aliens at all. Like so Adam came in and said aliens are fake. Okay, we're gonna go with that. We're gonna say Adam's right, aliens are fake for the sake of argument here. Now, if they are, but they might not be, shouldn't we have a plan for that? As a worldwide body of humans that should probably work together. If we're challenged by aliens in any way, shape, or form, shouldn't we have a plan for that? Shouldn't there be, even if it's like item number 10,000 on the list, shouldn't there be some sort of plan, some sort of here's what we do first. Do we disclose or do we cover? Do we this? Do we do that? There's some actual legitimate questions here. So I don't know. What do you think there, Frank?
Yeah, again, going back to the news story surrounding Germany, is they claim they had no plan, but other governments do have a plan. So I think this is important. Now, in this clip, he mentions this technology. So now let's go back to the other hypothetical. Aliens are real, and they've come to us. Well, there's reports of this Eisenhower meeting in Florida where he claimed he had to go to a dentist appointment, but he actually met with the Nordic tall white aliens and the reptilians and the Greys. And the Greys, I believe, as the story goes, wanted to give technology, share technology, but they wanted access perhaps to humans. So that's why we've seen this rash of cattle mutilations and abductions and things like this. Whereas these Nordic aliens, they wanted to disarm the population. They wanted us to get rid of our nuclear weapons and accept kind of a more peaceful but low technology approach leading into the future. That was the general idea. Who knows if that's true or not, but that's the general idea. So as the story goes, the government, the United States government, chose to side with the reptilians and Greys, and they got access to advanced technology as a result. So that essentially is exopolitics, is now that they have this deal with the American government, how does the Russian government interact? How does the Australian government think about this? And how does this all work on a global scale? How do all these factors come together and impact our world? And it's even more important than that, because think about it, and we've talked about this before, but this current system that we have in place, and I don't mean to sound like a revolutionary for any government agents listening right now, but the system we have in place where we have 4 years to do something, and we have to accomplish something within that 4 years, or you won't get in for the next 4 years. That's essentially how this whole system works. So think about that in terms of building a space elevator. It's going to take more than 4 years. You can start the process, you can start the planning, but it's going to take a lot more than 4 years. Or some kind of electromagnetic launch system to launch things into space. Again, you can start the process in the 4 years, but you'll be dead before the time it's done. It'll take 30 years. It'll take 50 years. It'll take 100 years to build these massive projects that we really need to have. And with that in mind, what Michael Sala suggests is that the government, the elected government, actually has no idea what's going on. They're cut out of the loop entirely. So let's play this because, again, they're only there for 4 years. So the government agencies under the elected government are the ones that really control what's going on. Let's play the government agencies clip, and Michael Sala explains that a little bit more.
Okay, before we do that, we got a call here. Let me see if this is a troll or what's going on. I'm going to take this call. Hello, you're on with Mike and Frank. What's happening?
Hi, Frank. How's it going, guys? This is Cole.
What's up, Cole? How you doing, buddy? Thanks for calling.
I wanted, well, it's easier to talk on the phone than comment, and I just wanted to ask you guys if you know anything about Bill Clinton's trip in the 1990s over to Area 51, and they wouldn't let him see half of the crap that they had down there.
You know what? I did hear about that. Yeah, I did. There's an actual interview that he's talking about that with I think a late night guy. I want to say Jimmy Kimmel or one of those guys, and he's joking about it, right? But he's basically saying it's in the intro clip where he's talking about, oh yeah, okay, Area 51, the alien, deep under the ground, whatever, right? But yeah, yeah, is that the one, right? That's what you're talking about?
Oh yeah, and he's always been adamant about finding out the truth when it comes down to the alien existence or visiting this planet. Regardless if you liked him as a president, he still had that in his mind, just like JFK did. And they turned him away. They wouldn't let him see half of what they have there, and that makes you wonder what is going on, because the president of the United States doesn't have clearance to see that, and they refuse him. So what's going on, guys?
Yeah, that should tell you something. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we talked about this a couple shows back, but the To the Stars Academy. I've heard speculation from the John Greenwald Jr. on the Black Vault. He had a guest on, like I said this once before, but they were saying that it was set up by the Clintons to do the actual rollout, what do you call it? The disclosure, like the whole disclosure project was supposed to be set up for Hillary. All the way back to that original Bill meeting. Way back, that was in the 90s. So we're talking about 20 years later now, and it was still we still don't have an answer here. We're still the To the Stars Academy. I don't know if you listen to them or what was going on, but Frank and I think they're collectively a joke. Can you hear him, Frank? Can you hear the call?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, just making sure. Yeah, so go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Frank, what's your opinion on this?
Yeah, so I think this is the thing, is that these 4-year cycle politicians, they don't have clearance because, again, they're in and they're out. They're not in it for the long haul. They're only in it for the 4 years. And if they start talking about this kind of stuff, it's not going to look good for their campaigns. But I think the unelected officials underneath them are the ones really in charge. So this is what we're going into here with Sala, is that the CIA, the Navy, the Air Force, they're the ones that deal with this, because an Air Force general, for example, is in there for life. So he has the secrets, where the 4-year elected politician may not. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, so they just...
Well, to end the conversation, I just want to throw that out there. How sketchy is that, knowing that the president doesn't even have clearance for this, and you have no clue who is up there on that rung, up the ladder. You have no clue who's there, and even the president doesn't know. And that's terrifying to think about as a citizen of this country, And thank you very much for the call, guys.
Yeah, thanks for calling in. Yeah, so to continue on that point, it's to me, it's that's basically the shadow government, right? I muted you there, Cole. So if I'll unmute you and let you hang up. Yeah, so that's the definition of the shadow government. Like, this whole deep state business that they're talking about. This is all of that. It's been going on. We talk about JFK and his assassination and all of that stuff. It's all they won't even let Trump now. He tried to release all of that the JFK files, right? No, he's still not allowed to. He's the president. He's the commander in chief, and he said, no, we're going to release the JFK files. And he got so much blowback from the deep state, from the shadow government, from the people that have been in power for 30 years or 40 years or 50 years. If you look at what's the guy's name? The guy that's like 95 years old and still running the joint. I mean, these guys have been around forever. And, these are the types of things that it's terrifying. Like, who's actually running this place? Because it certainly isn't our elected officials. All you have to do is watch C-SPAN and see the clown show that's going on over there. Nobody knows what's happening. It's literally a freaking joke. Thanks for the call there, Cole. That was awesome. A few more comments, but anything to kick in there, Frank, before we read some comments?
Yeah, let me jump in real quick. Like, think about it. Think about it in terms of logistics. You don't tell the secrets to the temporary employees. You tell the secrets to the lifelong employees. And in this situation, the temporary employees are the President of the United States, are the congressmen and senators. And that's just how it is. They are the temporary employees. So you give the secrets to the permanent employees, the lifelong employees, which is these guys who are unelected. Anyway, real quick here, we just got a great comment from YouTube.
Okay.
LOL, you guys are really crazy. We live in a simulation created by an AI too, right? Or maybe we live under the dome. And then he goes on here, the Sesame Street are actually real aliens from the moon. And so I just wanted to read that out because you have to take these things with a grain of salt, of course. But it's also like this comment, this derision that's dripping off these comments here. If you don't take it seriously, how do you know if it's true? You have to assess all the possibilities and look into them. Anyway, keep going.
Okay, so a few more comments here. Cole also says that, where are we at? Reality is fake. And so I think that's a little bit tongue-in-cheek there, but and Kelly wants to know what he means by that. And then Kelly says, no, we should, as a whole planet, no division between nations. Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna actually combat an extraterrestrial presence in any way, shape, or form, we need to come together. I mean, it seems corny. It's like the whole, patriotism or whatever you want to call it. But it's a fact, Jack. I mean, if they get here, if they have the technology to even get here, and we can't even detect them in a reasonably close proximity with the technology we have, of course we're crushed. I don't think there's a prayer if it comes down to any kind of a attack and defense type of situation. But I think maybe if the governments, if they have a plan for this type of thing, what they're talking about is how to save their own ass. Like how to get to the underground bunker. They're not worried about us at all. They don't give a damn. Like that's what I think the actual exopolitic plan would be of the nations getting together. Like, okay, well, you're going to go to this bunker. We're going to go to that bunker. We're going to close these gigantic steel doors, and we're going to pray that they can't get us. But as for all you guys, who cares? Well, you figure it out. Go get them. Go get them, boys. Go get them, girls. Let us know. Let us know how it is, But yeah, it's frightening either way. So it is, if you don't take it seriously, how do you know? Is like if this thing happens, and you don't consider it a possibility, then what? You instantly lose. I mean, we're probably going to instantly lose if it comes to that anyway. But without even a prayer. Anyway, okay. So then Adam says, first image of what looks like a grayling was originally created by Aleister Crowley, and Satanism and ufology are deeply conjoined. Okay, cool. Give us a call, man. We'd like to talk about that. And then he linked it here in the chat. I'll put this up for Frank in case you want to check it out. I don't know. We'll get to it right now, but I have heard that before. And thanks for the comment. It's a good comment. Kelly says Satanism is a man-made, and then Cole says we'll never know. And again, yeah, thanks for the call. He says you're welcome. Fred, what's up? Thanks for showing up, buddy. And then Adam says Richard Bruce probably comes the closest to figuring out Project Bluebeam. Yeah, we talked a little bit about that. We haven't done a full show on that, but we need to. That's definitely one we need to attack. But yeah, Yeah, good old Bluebeam. So, yeah, all right. So we're talking about Michael Salla. We're talking about exopolitics. We're talking about is it a possibility? So the poll, we've got an actual interactive poll there. The question is, do you believe that we have a secret pact with aliens? So we've got 83% right now says yes, it's actually going on. This is real. 17% says no way. So if you guys want to chime in on that, there's the ongoing poll, and we'll continue to monitor that as we go. But yeah, so Michael Salla, exopolitics. One more clip, you said, right? I think we're about to.
Yeah, let's keep going. I think I accidentally insulted this YouTube commenter, but I just want to say that I think both of us can agree that transparency is the most important thing, and that if we had that, then we would get to the truth. So there we go. There's my follow-up statement, because I think we got him a little bit salty. Anyway, yeah, so he's talking about, and as the caller mentioned, is who controls this? Who controls the exopolitics? And again, Michael Salla thinks that it isn't the president, it isn't the elected officials, it's actually the government agencies. So if we can play that government agencies clip, we'll hear it from him.
It's mixed. I mean, you have different aspects of the U.S. government.
Okay.
You know, the military, and then the corporations that work with the military, and then you have the intelligence community. You have the government. So everyone is different. All in the United States, you know, people often think, oh well, the United States government is doing this, and they're bad.
Because everyone is like, yeah, it's bad, or it's Illuminatis, or it's not good for us. So what's your point of view?
Yeah, but in fact, the United States government is very compartmentalized. You have different agencies with different agendas. Even the military in the United States, the U.S. Navy has a very different agenda to the U.S. Air Force. And so, you know, when it comes to the question of extraterrestrial life, UFOs, you'll see that the Navy and the Air Force have very different ways of approaching this situation. And then the intelligence community has a different way of approaching it. I can say quite clearly that the worst entity in the United States when it comes to this issue is the Central Intelligence Agency.
The CIA.
That's correct, yes. Because they were created exclusively to handle this phenomenon from the very beginning. In terms of like doing covert operations, in terms of maintaining the secrecy, in terms of raising the money, because there's a lot of money that has to be raised for this. And the CIA is the only government department or agency in the United States that can basically dispense money without any regard to congressional auditing standards and so forth.
I don't think anybody's going to argue with him there about the CIA pretty much being the king of dirty shit in the government. I mean, we go back to MK Ultra and everything else we've talked about, and it's always the CIA over and over and over. So that doesn't surprise me one bit. I call that plausible right off the bat. But yeah. What do you think, Frank?
Yeah, and so again, I think this, like I didn't know about this before. I think this is key, is that, and especially what the caller mentioned, is that the president does not know everything that's going on. These senators and congressmen, they have no idea what's going on. And I'm always going to go back to that clip, and we're going to play it for you one day about this. I forget if he was a senator or what was he, but he was worried that the island of Guam would tip over if they landed too many troops on it. And think about that. This is an elected official who thought that an island would tip over if they landed too many troops on it. And the clip's on YouTube, you can search for it, but think about how dumb you have to be to know that, to think that, to actually have that in your belief system, that an island could tip over. And then think about, these are the people that are supposedly dealing with these extraterrestrials and these aliens and all this technology. No, of course not. They're not doing that. It's the military. It's the corporations. They're the ones in charge. The intelligence agencies as well. They're the ones in charge of all these things. And to me, that makes perfect sense, that the president really has no idea what's going on. What do you think?
Yeah, and of course the CIA. Always the CIA. Every time we talk about anything dirty, it's them. Their name pops up. All the things they've covered up, you know, that they're in the mix of people that probably assassinated the president, JFK. You know, they talked about the mafia, the mob, whatever they were called. And you know, the CIA is, you know, one of the top conspirators that are probably involved with that whole situation. So that's a whole other story. But if they're actually in the mix of assassinating presidents of their own country, what mix wouldn't they be in? Like every single thing is nefarious. These guys are going to be part of it. They're going to be pulling the strings. I would go so far as to say that they are the shadow government. Them themselves. The CIA, they have the most, let's say the least amount of transparency of all the government organizations. Like I said, if you listen to the Black Vault, this guy does nothing but FOIA requests. He's pretty much made his whole career in life on these FOIA requests. John Greenwald Jr., very good, very good. But he talks about getting information from the CIA, and it's impossible. They literally turn down every single thing, and well, what are you going to do? You can't get information, and they operate completely in the dark without any kind of oversight. And apparently presidents aren't even in the loop here, or maybe they get shot if they are. So anyway, some comments here. All right, so all right, yeah. Cole says the guy interviewing isn't even interested, and I think you're right. He seems like he's falling asleep. And then
that was one of the worst interviews I had ever seen. Like, he says the CIA, and of course we all know it. Like, it was a horrible interview. I agree with you, but we clipped it anyway.
Right. It's a good overview because you get to hear Michael Sala talking about it. Adam says, how about the moon landing? Quick on the moon landing, I say plausible that it was faked, at least the first or the second time. I think we eventually went there. Frank, want to chime in real quick?
Yeah, I think, we've talked about this before, but my theory is we definitely went there, but none of the footage, none of the photographs survived the trip. So all of the photographs and footage and video was all faked, but they definitely went there, and they just reproduced it at a later point.
Yeah, totally. Agreed. Okay, so, and then he's got a link here for NASA in Hebrew. I'm not sure what this is, but we can check this out a little bit later. I'll link it for Frank. So again, guys, the reason we do this show is because this is good information we're getting. So appreciate all the input, appreciate the links and the things you're sending us. We can't necessarily like climb into them in the middle of a show here, but on Tuesdays we do kind of a free for all. We can do some of that, or if it's really good, what we'll do is we'll build a show around it later. So dropping this link in for Frank, and we'll get to this later. The Adam's link of Rob's channel and NASA in Hebrew. Then Cole's spamming our phone number. Thanks, buddy. He says, don't let me be the only caller. Yes, please call. It's easier to call. You see how it is if you got a statement you want to make. You just call in, you tell us what's up, and then you're off the phone. It's real simple. Real easy. Easier than reading chat, easier than typing chat. So thanks, Cole. Appreciate that. And then Fred says, the only president that does know anything is Bush Sr. He was head of the CIA. It seems like, right? And he's also pretty... okay, I'll not make comments about the old guy. Okay, so and then Cole agrees, and then Adam says Bush Sr. off JFK, and then Bush Jr. off to JFK Jr. Okay, I think you need to give us a call, Adam. 702-957-1037. You're a little too free with your conspiracy theories there. If you got some data to back that up, we'd love to hear it. But anyway, okay, so Michael Sala, let's continue this. So Exopolitics, and go ahead.
So let me just jump in there. I think the first lesson we can take away from Exopolitics, like the first true teachable moment, even if it's entirely hypothetical, is that the elected officials do not control what's going on. It would have to be, logically speaking, it would have to be these unelected officials that are there for life. Anyway, he continues on in this vein. Let's play the government agencies clip. Sorry, I think we just played that one.
I mean, you have different aspects.
Killed it. Which one?
Yeah, sorry. I believe it's the national security clip. Yes, that's the one we want. Play that. Right. Thank you.
All right, action.
Well, I think it's just a normal part of the national security process that every country does. Mm-hmm. When there's a new phenomenon that they don't understand, first they get their scientists and their military people to try to understand this phenomenon, find out the national security implications, and then once they feel that they understand it sufficiently, then they come up with a plan to disclose this to the politicians and because from the national security mindset, they first consider themselves as the professionals and the politicians as the amateurs, because politicians come in for 4 years, 8 years, and then they leave. Whereas national security experts are there for their whole life, so they consider themselves the experts. So first they try to understand a new phenomenon, and then they come up with a policy for revealing this. And they disclose some of the information to the politicians and try to see, well, how much can we reveal. But I think what happened was that a kind of inertia set in, because once they realized the magnitude of the problem, the more they studied it, the more they came to this conclusion that this was information that they couldn't reveal because they just couldn't control it. They couldn't persuade the people that they were in control of the situation, because no government, no military wants their people to think that they cannot control a situation.
That guy is the most bored interviewer ever. I don't know. I'd like to interview Michael Salla. That'd be interesting, just to hear what he has to say. But this dude is like, oh.
Yeah, that guy, he had like cut off jeans and like dreadlocks, and Michael Salla sitting next to him with a nice suit on. Yeah.
Okay.
Terrible interview, but good comments from Michael Salla. What did you think about that in terms of exopolitics?
Yeah, I mean, the thing to me that says it all is going back to he tried to do this. He was part of the American University here, and then he got run off. So it's like, is it really that important to it's censorship. If the guy's a quack and none of this is real or has any chance of being real, let him. Ignore him. And just be like, oh, that's Dr. Salla. He's got an odd hobby, that guy. Like there's people in all academic circles that have quote odd hobbies, or what I mean, that are interesting people that you don't have to completely take seriously. But I mean, they ran the guy off. They censored him. He wasn't allowed. He was not allowed to do this. So he had to go do his own thing. So I think that, to me, that says all of it. You're not allowed. It's redacted. It's we don't talk about this stuff, whether it's real or not. Even though we've established that it's a smart way to think about the future. If it's not here now, it's a possibility for the future for sure. So I just don't understand the big deal. Like why they couldn't just ignore him. But again, it's that whole thing. It's if you lend him any kind of credence to the idea, then you're justifying it. Right, or you're accepting it, or you have to completely denounce it in this day and age. I mean, this was a while back. This was like 2004, 2003 when he was doing this stuff. But academia doesn't surprise me. That's exactly the type of stuff that we're talking about here. But yeah, good stuff.
Another quick comment from YouTube here. I think this is an excellent point. Is if Clinton and Lewinsky can't cover up, I'm going to censor the word here, information about the member, well then how can they cover up information about aliens? And again, I think this goes back to the point of exopolitics, is these people don't know. They're under so much scrutiny on a day-to-day basis. Everyone knows their name. Everyone's looking into them. Think about the hearings for the Supreme Court recently. They're digging into that guy's life, intensely digging into his life. FBI investigations, anonymous tips, all this kind of stuff. Again, these they're not going to know anything. No one's going to tell them a damn thing because they would just spill the beans. And so the people who really are in the know are these unelected officials, which I think forms this shadow government type situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you, Frank, how many beers did you drink in high school?
I was always a liquor man. I don't really like beer.
Okay, fair enough. We'll chalk that down as 0 if anybody's listening. 0 beers for Frank in high school. Okay, so all right. So Cole says Bob Lazar. Yeah, there's another one. We need to do a show on him. He's actually the one that spawned this whole show. Frank and I had a conversation about Bob Lazar a few years back, and we're like, is this guy full of crap or not? What's going on with this? And it kind of eventually led to this show, so you can thank Bob Lazar for that. Okay, so more clips here, or I got some of the Michael Salla stuff to get into. Some of his we got classified programs, we got the meeting with Eisenhower, We got all kinds of stuff that he's actually talked about on his website. So if you guys, one more time, if you guys want to look into Exopolitics and Michael Salla, it's exopolitics.org. And he's got all this stuff up there. So yeah, he's been up since about 2003, 2004, like I said. And there's tons of good information, Some of it's going to be probably a little bit out there, but some of it's a little more, kind of it's like a mental gymnastics, let's say. I guess that's a good way to put it. Like, okay, if these things, you have to put yourself in the presence of mind of, are these things real? And if so, read the article. You know what I mean? Like that type of thing. So it's it is a lot of fun. I've followed him for quite a while, and kind of why we want to talk about this. So yeah.
It's a good thought experiment. I think like it is important to take a stance, then think about the implications, and that's what this whole thing is. So I think we've got a good introduction into what exopolitics is now. Why don't we get into some of the specifics, and I'll let you take over on that part.
Okay, got a few more comments here. Adam wants to know if did Frank throw ice? I guess that's a beer from high school comment. I'm not sure. Like Natty Ice? I don't know what you mean. Adam, give us a call. Don't let Cole be the only caller. 702-957-1037. Give us a call. Clarify, is that Natty Ice? Is there some other kind? And then Kelly says only one president was going to take the army to Area 51 and take over that whole place. Who was that? I am not familiar with that story. And then Adam says Nikola Tesla was an alien. Okay, cool. I haven't heard that, but I did hear that what Cole says, he was an extremely intelligent human being. I have heard that. So okay, so I'm going to get into some of what Michael Salla was talking about here specifically. So we've got so if you go to his website, he's got like a top 5 or top 7 articles. I can't remember how many. I just picked a few, but where he kind of lays out his entire thesis, like his entire. This is why I got into the idea of exopolitics, and here's the information. And so I picked a few of that, but you can see he's got an actual get started here type of section. So if you're new to the topic, he kind of leads you into it, and then he's been at it for years. So, and he has got some media attention, and he's had me follow him. He's an interesting fellow, let's say. Okay, so in here we go. Let's get to this one. Okay, so in this was the, he says, okay, he professes that extraterrestrials were working with humans in USAF classified programs. Okay, so we've heard some of this stuff. We've heard the Phil Schneider stuff that we've talked about in previous shows. We've talked about the Thor alien. What was that guy's name? There's some actual things that are happening here where we've had eyewitness accounts of aliens in disguise working with the governments. Okay, so he actually talks about some of that as his way to get started. So here's one real quick. Former U.S. Air Force surgical assistant Emery Smith dropped another bombshell in his latest interview on Cosmic Disclosure, which is Gaia TV, which is fantastic if you guys aren't familiar with it. And says so he was revealing how he worked alongside extraterrestrials in a classified program located at Kirtland Air Force Base, New Mexico. And this was from 1992 to 1995. So in his interview with the New York Times bestselling author David Wilcock, familiar usual suspect there, Smith described different groups of extraterrestrials that assisted in autopsies conducted on other beings of non-Earth origin. So we got like a alien sweatshop going on there, where they're doing autopsies on each other. Did you get a chance to look at any of these articles there, Frank? I know we're.
I saw some of them for sure.
Okay.
Which one do you want to talk about?
That's the one here. So I'll keep on going. Just checking if you had read some of these. Okay, so some of those scientists and physicians are actually of un-Earth origin as well. So they're down there, aliens working on aliens, and apparently working alongside the United States government. So let's see, some other stuff in here. They turn around and willingly want to help us and stay with us and teach them about their own physiological phenotypes, about their own race, etc. So according to Michael Salla and the research he's done, he says that the aliens that are working with the government, they're friendly. We don't have a problem here. It's a thing that has apparently been going on since the Roswell days and is still going on. So Valiant Thor, that was the guy's name, and I think Kelly dropped his name earlier and said he's from Venus. But yeah, so that's a lot of this stuff. If you guys you want to look it up, again, I encourage you to follow up on us because we're not just making this stuff up. This comes from somewhere. So we kind of follow the lead on some of these guys and dig into what they're talking about. So this is one of them. So that goes back to the poll. And so are there actual aliens working alongside the government? And back to the poll question, do you believe that we have a secret pact with aliens? Is that a real thing? Do you guys actually believe that's something that's possible? We had Kelly call in our show, the last show, and he actually told us he's an eyewitness. We've had a couple eyewitnesses, actually, that have seen aliens here. So let me check real quick. We have... Okay, a couple more comments. But yeah, so anyway, what do you guys think? We got 83% on the poll says yes, it's probable, and 17% still says no way. Okay, so anyway, there we go. Aliens. There's one of his things. There's one of his basis, the entire basis for getting into exopolitics and talking about it as a what would you call it? A discipline? I guess it would be called a discipline. Yeah, exopolitics as a thing, So there we go. There's one. Okay, so there's more here. Then he gets into the need for exopolitics, which we talked about a little bit, but here's his reasoning. So, according to a September 2002 Roper poll, 2/3 of U.S. citizens don't believe their government is disclosing the truth about extraterrestrial presence over the last 50 years. Okay, is that shocker to anybody? I mean, we talk about it all the time. Government transparency, we're talking about aliens, and that's why we're here. That's why we're talking about this. That's what this show's about. So if you're here, listen to this. You know, I hate to speak for you, but I think the answer there is probably clear. Is we're probably part of that 2/3 of the people. Okay, and then and 60% supported the federal government releasing this information. It should be released. Absolutely. Okay, so continue. The history of a purported ET presence has generated numerous books, films, articles, and websites, conspiracy theories, the various activities. Okay, this is his article I'm reading here, so let's scroll down and find something interesting. Okay, so this research study he did is a culmination of 2 years' research into popular conspiracy theories of an extraterrestrial presence, clandestine government efforts to keep the information from the public realm, and the policy implications for elected officials and the general public. I think that's probably a good way to sum up the entire exopolitics thing. But so yeah, what do you think? Is that possible? So obviously people don't trust the government. That's duh. And two, what about the conspiracy theories with aliens? Is it real? Is it not real?
Yeah, again, sorry to interrupt there. I think this goes back to the whole idea that we're being lied to on a daily basis, but not only being lied to, we're being misdirected in that thinking the president or the senator knows the answers, when in reality they have no idea. If we want answers, I think we have to go to these intelligence agencies to find out, or the military. And of course, they're not going to talk at all. They're not going to say anything. Now, you mentioned the media and the role the media plays in this whole thing. And I think that's a very important point, if we can just skip to that for 1 second, is that in some ways, the media is mind control. And we've talked about this so many times, is you see silly shows on television, like, what was that Bigfoot show? Harry and the Hendersons, I believe it was called. And you see, like, all sorts of these silly TV shows, and you start to think about them, and they play up the ridiculousness. They play up how stupid the whole thing seems, quite frankly. And we get that into our heads, and we get how stupid they are. These concepts are into our heads, and all of a sudden we're skeptical of everything. We don't believe anything. We see something strange and we're like, oh, maybe I'm just crazy. So the media plays a big role in this whole phenomena of exopolitics, in suppressing this information. I think we have a clip on that, but before we get to the clip, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's totally right. And part of why we thought it was important to do the news in this show, so we could, talk about not just the news story, but the way the media actually covers this stuff, reports it, maligns it, makes fun of it, calls us conspiracy theorists, as a blanket group, regardless of the facts. It's standard. It's why, again, one of the main reasons why we're doing this show. But yeah, got a couple comments here, and then we'll play this clip. Cole says, one thing we can all agree on is that Mark Zuckerberg is an alien. I agree. I'm with you, man. After seeing that, the smoke and the meats clip, holy smokes. Yeah, he's a weird dude. That is for sure. Sorry, Zuck. I agree. You're an alien. Adam says, let's get it over with and rush the Dulce, New Mexico base, 30,000 strong. Okay, you volunteer to lead and you get the crew together and then get back to me. But no, on the record, I can't say that I'm interested in that because that's treason. Come on, Adam. Give us a call, though, if you want to talk about it. That's pretty funny. And Cole says, unfortunately, I don't believe something like that would ever happen anytime soon. People are scared. Yeah, I don't want to get shot at. I mean, they got big guns, big scary guns. Dave says, didn't President Obama say he would tell the truth about aliens before he left office? I think he did. That was one of his things, right? I know Podesta was really into
a lot of stuff. He said a whole lot of stuff. And,
he did.
Well, we won't get political, but you can hear the skepticism in my voice.
Yeah, hold on. If you like your insurance, you can keep it. If you like your doctor, you can keep it. Okay, anyway. Okay, so Adam says I would go. George Washington style. All right. I like your attitude, man. I don't like when the feds kick in my door. Easy. You need to slow your roll, man. Let's not get. We're already on a list, just doing the show. So let's not get arrested. So no, we do not condone revolution, open revolution against the government, or let's say revolution of any type. Does that cover it? Okay, I think that covers it. Okay, Cole says, but I don't want wood and ivory teeth. Yes, and then it's for truth and puts an end to confusion. I'm all for it. Yeah. Oh, when Kelly's ready to take the lead, and says no, they are doing treason. Okay, guys, we need to slow this down. We're not leading to treason here. Okay, we're just talking about exopolitics. All right. Whoa. Okay, everybody, just saying. Okay, everybody, calm down. Everybody, step away.
You know what? Controlling the population, making sure the population is compliant, is a big part of exopolitics, right? You think about it. The government could not maintain control should this kind of secrecy get out there. And so this whole thing that we're talking about, this whole even being scared of charging the Dulce base, that's exopolitics. That's keeping it secret. That's the plan that's in place. Anyway.
Yeah. It's definitely the plan that's being implemented because we can't get in there, and we're not going to get in there. Hell or high water, it's not happening. I wonder if 30,000 people, like how many they would have to murder. I mean, I'm not.
No, that's why they've spent a lot of money and a lot of time developing anti-riot technologies, gas and beanbag rounds and sonic weapons and who knows what else. So no, you'd show up and they'd just gas everyone.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, let's play this clip and get through the rest of this. Thanks for the comments, guys. And one more time, if you want to be on the show, 702-957-1037. Kelly's called, Cole's called, so we've had Todd was on the show, so you see, just call in. We'll be nice to you. We can get your comment real quick if you want to drop some knowledge or ask some questions, and that's what we're here doing. So 702-957-1037, and here we go with this clip. Which one is this again, Frank?
Sorry, let me jump in there. And you can also join the Discord, and that's how we communicate, my co-host and I, and just jump in here and chat. If you don't want to use the phone, don't want to be tracked, you can do that too. Mass media is the clip.
Okay, mass media, and which one is it? All right, action.
I think there's a kind of like a psychological warfare component to the mass media and why they're showing so many science fiction movies about extraterrestrial life. I think I don't think it's just about covering up. I think that's part of it, but it's also a means of them conditioning us to think a certain way that they can kind of manipulate in their own way. Because from a psychological warfare perspective, they have to prepare for kind of catastrophic disclosure. In other words, extraterrestrials show up with big ships over the major cities, that this is still a possibility, and that in that possibility they have to be sure that society doesn't disintegrate. And so these movies are a way of, on the one hand to kind of disinform people about what's really happening, but on the other hand to kind of condition them in case catastrophic disclosure occurs.
Catastrophic disclosure. You catch that, right? So it's not just disclosure itself. It's catastrophic. It's a way they didn't plan. It's a way they didn't leak. It's a way they didn't feed us breadcrumbs with this crap. The Blink-182 guy, Tom DeLonge, and the To the Stars Academy. I think I'm gonna make a video and call that guy out Because yeah. Anyway, it irritates me a lot that they're toying with this. It's breadcrumbs. But anyway, go ahead. Didn't mean to cut your clip off there, Frank.
Yeah. So he talks about two things there: conditioning and disclosure. Now, I think we all underestimate conditioning. So, for example, let's take this example. If you take a rag full of chloroform and you hold it up to someone's face, what happens? You've been conditioned to believe something happens.
According to Hollywood.
Maybe you tell me.
According to Hollywood, they instantly pass out. Snap your fingers, boom, out.
Exactly. And we've been conditioned to believe that if you shoot someone, they fly back 5 feet and they die, right? That's not how it works. Of course that's not how it works. And so we've been conditioned to believe this, and they're just not true. And so take that example further, thinking about aliens, thinking about extraterrestrials and UFOs. We've been conditioned, and we may not know how we've been conditioned, but we've definitely been conditioned to think certain things that may not be true. And those ideas are in our mind, and they're almost inescapable because we can't confirm them, we can't verify them in any way. So I think that's a big part of this media and blitz and this media organization is conditioning us what to think. And the other thing he mentions there is disclosure. And again, like I think nowadays, the American public, even these first world nations, we'd be perfectly fine. I think if aliens did show up, maybe some of us, like myself, would, overreact just a little bit. Opening my drawer here and pulling out something if an alien shows up. But think about the third world. Think about Africa and maybe the middle. I don't want to. Well, pardon me if I sound racist, but think about
racist,
these.
Frank. You're racist.
Middle Eastern. Keep one second.
I got you. The Middle East.
Had to cough there.
I got you.
Think about these societies based on religion. I don't think they would tolerate at all something contradicting their religion. I don't think they could handle it, and they might freak out. And in those senses, in those places, disclosure truly would be catastrophic. So these are all important points, and again, kind of thought experiments in this whole field of exopolitics.
Yeah, absolutely. It is interesting that so we talk about it from a first world perspective, from like these powerful countries. But you're right. Like disclosure on a worldwide basis would be different. Different communities, different countries. Some people might not even hear the news. They're so disconnected with the rest of the digital world that if we were being invaded, you think anybody's gonna really take the time to go tell like the thirdest of the third world places? No, they'll probably find out when the alien team of takeover shows up in their village or whatever. So yeah, I mean, again, it's a big world. It's a big world here. Just because we're from the position of power or position of privilege or whatever you want to call it, the rest of the world reacts differently. So good stuff there. And then Kelly says Operation Mockingbird. That's the conditioning. That's the operation where the government is actually working with the press. Going back to the 50s, I believe, is when that started. So again, and the CIA, back to the same culprits, the same bastards, the same guys that are pulling the strings of shadow government. So yeah. Anything else?
Another comment on YouTube here. Oh God, help us! The aliens are coming to eat us. Well, tell us about it. Join the Discord. Call in. I don't know. I don't have the phone number memorized, so I can read that off after I'm done. But yeah, call in and tell us. So we're completely open to criticism. This is a thought experiment. This is exploring these ideas with an open mind, and that's all it is. What's the phone number in case this guy wants to call in?
702-957-1037. I'll put the phone number up on the stream. Yeah, give us a call. Again, the whole reason we do this, we said this 100 times, we'll say it 100 more, is, we want to be transparent with these thoughts. We don't want to tell you that this is the way things are. We're here asking these questions, and we're asking them together as a group. So if you, you want to call and make fun of us and call us quacks, we're cool. We're open to that. We're doing the opposite of what the government does. We're being completely transparent with our thoughts. We're talking about things that are interesting to us and hopefully to you guys. So that's the process. If you want to call and say we're nuts, cool. You won't be the first person to call me crazy. So, we're big boys. We can handle this. And if you know, you want to you debate us a little bit, perfect. Like, you know, we need to hear as many takes as possible to get the closest to the truth. So you know, that's why we have the open number. That's why we have Discord running, because we want you guys involved. So 702-957-1037. Cole gave us a call earlier. Kelly's called a few times, and the phone works. And yeah, if you guys want to get on the show, you know what to do. So there we go. And then we got a comment from Adam here. He says, R.I.P. Bill Cooper. I'm not sure who that is. You know who Bill Cooper is there, Frank? I have no idea.
I think I know the name.
Is this guy? Are you trolling us, Adam? Okay, you know what to do.
Oh,
give us a
William
call.
Cooper.
Oh, William Cooper.
Right? William Cooper. I think that's the Behold the Pale Horse guy, the guy who predicted 9/11. That old guy. Everyone thinks he's Alex Jones.
Oh, is it Alex Jones? He's actually Alex Jones.
No. Oh, that's a derailment of the whole topic. Anyway,
Okay.
Let's get back into exopolitics. So what else does Michael Sala think, and what does he think about Corey Goode and Randy Kramer and all this stuff? How's he bringing it all together?
Okay, so he it seems that, you know, he's really into this, and he believes this stuff. He thinks that it's a real thing. There's actual aliens here on Earth with us, and you know, he's completely open to those types of guys, the Corey Goods, the David Ikes, the Randy Kramers. Like he's all about this stuff. Here's another interesting one. He's talking about the ET motivation. So. Again, this is off of his website exopolitics.org, and he's got like a top 5, top 7, something like that, where he talks about laying out the need for this stuff and the things that led him down this path. So here's a few of those things. In this one, there's an extensive number of extraterrestrial races known to be currently interacting with Earth and the human population. In a 1998 interview, Clifford Stone, a retired U.S. Army general who served in the Army for 22 years and participated in covert operations to retrieve crashed extraterrestrial ships and extraterrestrial biological entities, revealed that there were a total of 57 extraterrestrial races known to the U.S. military. One more time, I'm going to say that. 57, says this guy. Says this, he gets the information from one Clifford Stone from a 1998 interview, a retired U.S. Army sergeant. So, that's pretty powerful. You get somebody who's been, you know, outside of those temporary positions, and you don't just become I guess a U.S. Army sergeant maybe isn't that hard. Anybody with military experience, let me know. How hard is it to become a U.S. Army sergeant? Probably not that hard. But let me know, like, how high is that up the chain? I'm not a military guy, so I couldn't tell you. But yeah, 57 extraterrestrial races known to the U.S. military. And then he says, from this pool of ETs, a number or more are more active than others, and claim to have the most significance for human evolution and sovereignty. So not only have they, you know, are they here now? They've been here for a long time. So that's what this guy says. So he's, you know, he's right in lockstep with the usual suspects. You know, the David Ikes and guys like that, where they talk about reptilians and the whole deal. So he's all about it. You know, he takes it seriously, and I think he actually believes this stuff. So there we go. A PhD, you can call him crazy, but he's got a PhD.
Yeah, and we have so many sightings and so much video and so much, you know, insider information. Like, let's say 99% of all these people, let's say 99.9% even, I'll be generous, it's all bullshit. It's not real, it's fake. They're, you know, looking for attention. So let's say 99.9% is fake. Well, what about the other stuff, right? You only need one sighting and the entire world changes. You only need one leaked insider perspective and the entire world changes. And if you have that, this is what exopolitics is. This is how the government covers it up. This is how the media conditions the citizens. This is how the international, you know, machinery would work together to suppress this information. That's what this whole topic's about. And I think, you know, looking at this, and again, even being entirely skeptical and saying 99.9% is false. Well, if you have that 0.1% that's true, that changes the entire world.
It does. And okay, so you know, again, so he believes this stuff. He's really into it. And you guys are interested? One more time, exopolitics.org. His name's Dr. Michael Sala. So here's another one. he's talking about this is one of his papers again, one of the top few papers here, but he talks about the Eisenhower 1954 meeting where it was allegedly he snuck away in the middle of the night to meet with ETs and actually make this type of secret pact. So here we go. On the night and early hours of February 20th to 21st, 1954, while on a, quote, vacation to Palm Springs, President Dwight Eisenhower went missing and allegedly was taken to Edwards Air Force Base for a secret meeting. When he showed up the next morning at a church service in Los Angeles, reporters were told that he had to have emergency dental treatment the previous evening and had visited a local dentist. The dentist later appeared at a function that evening and presented as the dentist who had treated Eisenhower. The missing night and morning has subsequently fueled rumors that Eisenhower was using the alleged dentist visit as a cover story for the extraordinary event. This is, we talked about this one a couple times in the past. I think when we talked about Michael Sull the first time, which we gave very little time for, which is why we're back to this. We brought this one up. Where is this legitimate? Do you guys think Eisenhower actually snuck away and met with extraterrestrials? So let me continue here. The event is possibly the most significant that any American president could have conducted an alleged first contact meeting with extraterrestrials at Edwards Air Force Base, and previously known as Muroc Airfield. And so it led to the beginning of a series of meetings with different extraterrestrial races that led to a treaty that was eventually signed. This astonishing first contact event, if it occurred, of course, allegedly here, will experience its 50th anniversary in 2004. And that's when Michael Salla actually launched his webpage. So there you go. What do you think about that one? Is that legitimate?
That's the story that we've been told, and again, who knows if that's true? Who knows if that's some kind of media disinformation? It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell with some of these things. Like we did the whole show on Randy Kramer and his stories. I think one of the commenters was, "This guy is sad. He's sad, not in a good way, but in a bad way. Like this is a desperate cry for help with some of the things he's saying." And you know what? Maybe, but maybe it's true as well. So again, we're not claiming to know the answers here. We're just exploring the possibilities. So I don't know. But I like this field of exopolitics. I think it's important as a thought experiment and something to keep in mind. Like, think about this. If, let's say, 1 in every million people was a vampire. Okay, some dumb example like that. But let's just say that. How would that impact the political situation? Well, you'd have fields cropping up to provide blood, and there'd be all sorts of political ramifications of these immortal vampires living amongst us. And this is just that same example, but with aliens. And you look at the situation, how do we deal with aliens? Well, you can't tell the elected officials because they'd spill the beans. And they're only in there for 4 years, and if they start talking about aliens, well, then they won't be for much longer. All you can really do is hand this off to the people who are there for life, and I think that's the situation we have now. And so when you consider that the situation we have now with this shadow government matches perfectly the situation you would have with exopolitics, well, what does that tell you? Does that tell you it's happening? I don't know.
Yeah, but does it say it's possible? I think there's a lot of things within the realm of possibility, so... One more time, thought exercise. Why we're here, why we do this. Kelly says, "You guys seen the Russian Book of Aliens?" Yeah, you know what? We actually pulled that out for our alien species list and flipped through some of that. So I think we got a couple pages of that in. Do you remember that, Frank? I know.
Yeah. So we did that episode on types of aliens, and I believe we covered the Nordics, we covered the Greys and the Reptilians. Then we ran out of time. But there's the Andromedans supposedly. The beta reticulum, there's a whole list, and so we'll have to do a show on that, the types of aliens part 2 at some point.
Yeah, because we got to like 5, and what's this guy say there's 60? 57. Total of 57 extraterrestrial races. This is according to Clifford Stone, a retired U.S. Army sergeant, which, thank you Fred, says a Army sergeant is E5, not too high up there, but respectable. Okay, there we go. Not too high up, but respectable. And he says, I've heard of him. And then Kelly believes the story about, I think, the Eisenhower story is what we're talking about here. So, we're down to about 10 minutes left, guys. So if you want to call me part of the show, One more time, 702-957-1037. We got the Discord link working. Reading comments, so if you want to chip in here and talk about Michael Salla, do you think the guy's a quack? You think he's onto something? Do you think it's just a fun thought experiment? You think any of this stuff is plausible? That's where we're at. We kind of dig into this stuff a little bit, ask some of these questions, and there's the questions. I could put up another poll if you guys want to do it that way, but we prefer the phone calls or the Discord if you want to do that. Makes everything easier, flows, kind of an audio type show. So let's do that. But yeah, so we're winding this down. I got another one here. So as we're waiting, if you guys want to jump in, but so that was Eisenhower meeting with the ETs in 1954 and signing this alleged treaty, right? So do you believe that we had a secret pact with the aliens? And that's the poll question, and it leads exactly to that spot, Eisenhower. Okay, so there's more here. So Michael Salla continues. The evidence provided is with different contactees, whistleblowers suggest that extraterrestrial visitors who are virtually indistinguishable from humans are living among us. And we've had some actual eyewitness testimony with Kelly. He called in and talked about that last week, last show that was, and specifically with this, where he noticed some actual possible reptilian aliens going on that are actually working inside the government. So so it's not just one source. These sources continue to come out. These sources continue to come from all places. Like we said, I think this was Frank's line: is history happens to everybody. Which is a great line, and it's true. You don't have to be the Queen of England to get to be an alien, right? That's a bad example, but for sure, if you've seen one or had an experience with one, or saw a UFO yourself or whatever, it's it kind of changes things. It makes things different, and if you malign everybody that saw something like this as crazy, you're calling a whole lot of people crazy. And I think that's the thing that's most curious to me is everybody can't be nuts, period. And everybody can't be nuts. So anyway, read some more of this. In his conclusion, so in his this is again the top 5 articles or whatever he's got here. He says extraterrestrials living among us appear to be operating in a manner similar to a celestial Peace Corps, where they try to blend in. They presumably wish to learn about Earth culture and behavior, and perhaps assist in passing on information to selected individuals. The fact that these extraterrestrials are monitored rather than immediately taken into permanent custody suggests that decisions have been taken by responsible government agencies, let's say the CIA, that's my own interjection there, so that that they've hold on, where I lost my place. He's talking about Valiant Thor. Okay, so yeah, monitored rather than immediately taken into custody suggests that decisions have been made by responsible government agencies to tolerate such an extraterrestrial's presence. And then here we go, back to the Valiant Thor. So the case involving Valiant Thor suggests that the monitoring system created extends even to such visitors being given VIP status and allowed to regularly meet with senior officials. So, boom. There you go. That's what Dr. Michael Salla thinks about exopolitics and about aliens and about it seems to jive with the Randy Kramer stuff and not necessarily that story, but definitely David Icke, guys like that, right? Where they're talking about reptilians on Earth and the rest of that stuff. So I mean, wow, that's a mouthful. So we got 83% in the poll say that that people believe that this is a real thing happening, and it's an actual secret pact happening with the shadow government and ETs, and they're here on Earth. What do you think, Frank? What about the poll?
Yeah, we got another skeptical YouTube comment here. Oh yes, talking about the types of aliens, the snake people and the crocodile people too, right? Those are the dinosaurs evolving below the ground. Well, you know what? Maybe. It's fun to talk about.
Maybe. I think
again, if you think we're crazy, call in and tell us why. We love criticism. Like, I think that's a big problem with a lot of these types of discussions is people are set in their beliefs. People are militant in what they are willing to accept and what they aren't. And you know what? We're just here. We're having fun reading and talking about this kind of stuff. And if you've got evidence to the contrary, call it.
Yeah, or a good argument why this is all folly and we're wasting our time. That's a good thing too. So one more time, 702-957-1037. We got about 7 minutes left. So you got time to jump on if you want to call in and tell us. And again, we're open to all of it. If you believe this stuff, great. If you don't, great. Like, that's why we're here. That's why we're talking about it. You know, I'm the first one. Call me crazy. No problem. I've been called worse. So
wait a minute. I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So in this whole field of exopolitics, it stipulates that these elected officials don't know anything, and that the unelected officials underneath them are the ones really in charge. So this whole idea of the shadow government. Well, how do we hold these people accountable? How would this information ever be released? Like, what do we do about this situation, if it's true or not? How do we deal with it? What do you think we should do?
Okay, so I think that that's part of. I keep going to the black vote guy. He's always trying to get information on this type of stuff, and he's always getting shut down. So we have a problem here where we're talking about actual unelected government officials. You know, nobody voted for these people. If you became a admiral in the Navy, nobody voted to put you in there. It was like either you earned it or it's like in a presidential appointed type position. So how can you? I don't think you can. I think it's one of those things where you can't hold the Army or the Navy or the Air Force or the Space Force. You can't hold them accountable because they're unelected officials. They're covered by these temporary bureaucrats that kind of flow through the political process, and it's all covered under the guise of national security. So no matter what you do, the only information you get is what they leak or what they want to give you. You know, so I'm not even sure there's a way here. It's is locked down under tightly under lock and key. Let's say. I just don't think there's a way to do that short of what the one guy say, to storm the Dulce base with 30,000 strong. Adam said that, but I mean,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I like this whole idea of exopolitics because it's like let the children play out in the sandbox and have fist fights and scream at each other, and the children in this analogy are the elected officials, and meanwhile the adults are inside the building, having their secret meetings, and no one's paying attention to them because it seems boring on the surface, but they're all paying attention to the screaming and the fighting outside in the sandbox. And that's what we're seeing now with this whole, Supreme Court hearing and whatnot, and Trump, Russia. This is what's happening. Is our attention is being drawn from where it should be to the exciting thing that's going on right now. And who's complicit in that? Well, the media. And there you go. Now, I had another question. Actually, I had a statement to answer my own question, is that I think the only get information about all this kind of stuff is if these leakers came forward, these insiders came forward and started spreading this information. And that's what we supposedly have with Corey Goode and Randy Kramer, is they've said they've been involved in these things, and now they're coming out to speak about it. But that can also be manipulated at the same time, right? So let's say Corey Goode came out and talked about the secret space program. Well, then Randy Kramer could, by these agencies, to come out and give a contradictory story or something that makes the whole thing seem so silly. So it is hard to tell who's being truthful and who's being paid to spread misinformation. I have no idea.
Yeah, and who's not part of the equation at all, is just kind of after a buck, chasing a buck. You get those kind of mixed in, or people that just want attention. So yeah, it is. It's a masterful psychological operation, let's say. Just with the data dumping and allowing some information out. I guess you could kind of look into who they try and smear, and maybe that would give you some clues on who specifically is telling the truth or not. I mean, maybe that's an angle to look at some of this in the future, is who they go after the hardest. It seems like the guy that's usually has some information they don't want to get out. So maybe that's maybe go back into ufology history and look at some of that, because that may be revealing in its own way. You know what I mean?
I think the answers are going to come when we try to get up and out there. Elon Musk is going to put a base on Mars, and that's when we'll find out if there's really aliens and a breathable atmosphere there. as Randy Kramer would suggest. And the Chinese are going to put the rovers and explore the dark side of the moon. And that's when we're really going to find out, hopefully, who knows, knowing China, but hopefully we'll find out if there really are structures and things back there. So again, that's kind of the whole point of this show, and what we talk about a lot is space exploration and Elon Musk and Blue Origin. It's all incredibly important. And I think as the perhaps corporate areas supersede the government areas, that's when we'll start seeing some real disclosure.
And it's happening. That's happening anyway. They say disclosure's happening. One more time, I'll dig on To the Stars Academy, Blink 182, Tom DeLonge, calling you out, buddy. I know you'll never hear this, but I don't care. I'm still calling you out. And the other stuff, they are pushing it. These private sector industries are trying to say, hey, you know what? We want to get the asteroids first and actually take over the world. And we're starting to see the government has a problem with that. They don't like it. They're like, wait a minute, we made space treaties here. We need to abide by this stuff. But if you're the first guy to, we talked about this several times. If you're the first guy to go and go talk to this type of stuff, or find the asteroids and harvest them for whatever's there, you take over the world. A few more comments here, and we'll wind this down. Kelly says there's a lot more evidence of these creatures than not. They have been talked about for a few millennium. Yeah, you go back in some of those books. Go back and check out our Anunnaki episode. I know you were a part of that, Kelly, but if anybody else is interested, this stuff has been around for quite a long time. Like I think that one's 750,000 years. That tale goes back. So aliens, ancient aliens, that whole deal. Adam wants to know who owns the media. I think that's let's say the. What's the best way to put that? The corporations, for sure. I think that's the easy answer. The mega corporations, George Soros and those types, they definitely own the media. And then Adam says, way off track. Not sure what you mean there. So if we're way off track, give us a call. A couple more minutes, 702-957-1037. Appreciate all the comments, guys. You guys are always great. It's a joy doing the show because we get to get some ideas from you guys, bounce some stuff off, and hear some stuff that we hadn't thought about ourselves. So that's, again, why we do it. So, and then Fred, I don't think I read this comment. He says, sounds like the movie Men in Black. Going back to Michael Sallow there. So what do you guys think? Exopolitics? Yay or nay? Is this something we should pay attention to in the future? Is this something that we should ignore and just call this Dr. Michael Sallow guy a quack? There's every shade of gray in between, of course, but it's more fun to just pick the extremes. But yeah, so anyway, one more time.
Let me jump in here.
Do it.
And talking about him being a quack, let's bring some skepticism into this, because I don't know, so Michael Sallow follows this QAnon phenomenon, and he writes articles about it, he discusses it, and he's really into this whole thing. And I don't know what you think about QAnon, but I think to me that's a litmus test. And that anyone who is super into that guy, super into these statements, these cryptic statements, I don't know, that takes away from the believability. We'll have to do a whole show on that at one point or another, but yeah, I don't know. To me, if you're following that guy religiously and you believe everything he says, well, that's like a -1 point.
Yeah, QAnon. I agree. It seems to be like its own, sub category of psychological operation. It's definitely a psyop. It's to me, it's maybe algorithmic based psyop based on media traction or what have you. Again, that's a whole show there, but that's what it seems like to me. So, yeah. Anyway, QAnon. That's definitely way off track. But yeah, okay. So Michael Sallow follows QAnon. What do you guys think? We got Fred says definitely plausible. I think plausible is a good word. I would not jump both feet in with this one and say that this guy's right on the money, because he does have a lot of interesting things. So, but interesting doesn't mean wrong. It just means it requires more thought, more consideration, more study, more sources, and all of that. So. Yeah, there we go. We're about to wind this down, guys, so one last chance. 702-957-1037. I'm going to cue the outro. Anything you want to add there, Frank, before we end this up?
Yeah, I was just kind of thinking about this, because when we started looking into this character, this Dr. Michael Sallow, he has no Wikipedia page, right? So this guy, he has a doctorate, he's taught in universities, and he is quite famous in his own right, and yet he has no Wikipedia page. And again, you think about this, like 20 years from now, 30 years from now, what's going to happen to this stuff? I think it's just going to disappear. It's going to fade away. So I don't know. I think even if exopolitics isn't relevant today, 100 years from now it might be. 500 years from now it might be. So we should be paying attention to this stuff and considering it, because it is important.
It is long term. So, all right, guys. Thanks for sticking with us. You got 30 seconds if you want to call 702-957-1037. Otherwise, we're about to sign off here. Thanks for all the comments. Thanks for the call, Cole, and thanks for all the input. You guys are amazing as always. And yeah, if you want to help us out, again, it's totally free. Go to troubledminds.org. Find all our social stuff. We're on iTunes. We're on Stitcher. We're on Google Play Music. So if you leave us some comments and give some thumbs up, rate us, I think would probably help. So if you want to help the cause, that's one way to do it. And again, we're not going to be into asking you guys for money, so it's that's the best way to help us. So thanks for the sharing, thanks for the comments, thank you for all that stuff, and yeah, all right. Kelly says have a good night. See you all Sunday. We'll be there. Adam's got a YouTube link. We'll look at that for later. And all right. So you guys are listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Thank you. Another great show, says Fred. Thank you. I'm your host, Michael Strange. I'm here with your co-host, Frank Pierce. Thank you for listening. And from our troubled minds to yours, you guys have a great night.